Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
I'm Kerry Fink, and welcome to this edition of Helping Seniors Television. This is the program that's designed to inform, educate, and connect you to resources that will help you develop your own aging plan. As Joe Steckler, who is the founder of Helping Seniors Brevard, serves as chair emeritus now, often says we need a roadmap to help us navigate senior years. In fact, we talk about when you live in Florida, you understand the idea of a hurricane plan. It does not mean you want a storm. It means you want a path that will keep you safe through the storm and that you've mapped it out ahead of time so you are prepared for it. With an aging plan, it's much the same because they talk to us our whole life about a plan. They say, what are you going to be when you grow up and what's your plan? Are you going to go to school? What kind of a job do you want? And then when you're in the work field, they say, what's your plan? How do you want to progress? What's your next career step going to be? How are you going to plan for your retirement and things like that? And then they have what we call a retirement plan, which is typically, how you're going to set up your finances so that you're ready for retirement life. But the point about an aging plan is to help you prepare for those things, especially as we're living longer, that might really help you with your quality of life. So at Helping Seniors, which we're a little 501c3 nonprofit, 100% local to Brevard County, but our mission is to connect seniors and resources and give them the education makes a difference. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about today, and I'm so excited to welcome to the studio, Cathy Rowlands with Total Long-Term Care Consultants. And we're going to talk about care and case management. Welcome, Cathy. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We were talking at some various events that we've done here at the Senior Resource Center Brevard, where you've come and given explanation about this, that I don't know that we as general public know what a care manager is. I was telling you my own personal story of visiting my mom in a hospital many, many years ago, and she was about ready to be discharged, but needed some extra help. And so the person comes in from the hospital and says, I'm the hospital case manager. I'm here to help you guys. Your mom is going to go have some rehab afterwards. And so, okay, that sounds good. And literally the lady hands me a book and says, now, where do you want your mom to go to? And I got to tell you, I felt so unprepared. I didn't even know where to begin. And as now looking back to that point, I understand there's quite a difference because that person is doing their best to make sure that the hospital is doing its duty to get somebody safely to another place. But she said, I can't help you pick out a place. You have to, it's against our rules. You have to pick it out on your own. And then I come to meet you, and I was telling folks, one of the very first shows that I remember Joe Steckler, as then president and founder, doing on TV, because he says, we've got to get education into the marketplace, was talking to you and getting an insight into care management. I remember thinking, I wish I'd known you at that point. What does a care manager do? Talk about that.
Well, a care manager, and I am a certified care manager by the National Association of Aging Professionals. I think that's important because a care manager understands, in contrast to the case manager at the hospital, their role is discharge. Mm-hmm. My role is to place somebody in a situation that meets their needs at the most cost-effective situation that they have that will take care of them, i.e. their insurance, private pay, whatever is necessary, so that they can recoup from hopefully their long-term care issue, which could be they fell and broke a hip. Mm-hmm. Well, a hip is repairable and you can get back to your life if that happens, if you're lucky. Mm-hmm. So that's what we try to do. And we try to do it in the most cost-effective, most appropriate care setting.
So is it a fair thing to say that in the case of my mom's situation, I was really functioning as a care manager, which was, now looking back, I think was horrible because while I did care, I had no expertise of knowing what I was doing other than I want the best for my mom, but I don't know what it is or how to get there.
That's correct. And you don't, I look at the state surveys of the facilities because they could go up and down. And where maybe location is important. So it's very important that I found through my nursing home experience that it's very important to have families visit at least weekly, if not more, to make sure that the care is being delivered appropriately to your family member. So that's what we would do. And we know the facilities that are good and at what their trade. And they are ranked from 1 to 5 by the federal government, by Medicare. And I believe right now there's only 1, maybe 2 in Brevard County that have a 5.
Wow.
5 rating.
And even that, I remember thinking, just back to my own personal experience, I remember the case manager handing me the book and said, well, the hint I can give you is take a look at those ratings.
Right.
But then I got to thinking it was like a printed book. So I thought, well, how recent is this? And I'm sure they update it every so often, but is a 5 really a 5? And is a 1 still really a 1? Because that's the difference. I'm looking at a printed book, maybe so old, but you're walking through the door. You know what's going on.
We know whether it's still a 5.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I would say so to let the person know. And, sometimes, where they are interested, the staff have good relationship with the clients. They take care of them. They're helpful, caring, and responsive. And some places they're just not. And I found through my career that has a lot to do with how the administration treats the staff.
Yeah.
And I worked for a company when I was in Massachusetts that if I did not get out on the floor and walk around every single day, and I had 170 beds, which is a lot, and I turned it around, but that's how you have to do it. You can't just sit in your office.
We talk a lot in the helping seniors world. We take what Joe called making an aging plan, and we kind of try to make it a little, fun or a little less intimidating is probably a better word. And we say it's about getting your ducks in a row. And as we've talked about that now for many years, we've learned a couple of things along the way that we try to share as well, which is a very important corollary to that is don't try this on your own. Because I think what happens to so many, and we judge it by the phone calls we get. We took over 4,500 calls on our senior information helpline last year. And many times, not always, but many times, there's a crisis involved. Decisions have to be made suddenly. And as you know, if you're under stress, you're not going to make the best decision. Yep. Your options are probably more limited just because it is a crisis. And maybe the worst part of it all is that you're now in a field where you really don't have the expertise to even make the best decision. And yet, to me, if we spun that the other way around, we talk about what a care manager can do, it would be to mitigate much of that.
It would be. And that's what we would be able to do. Unfortunately, a lot of it, there's no insurance that covers our services. We're like a lawyer. It's a fee for service.
Right.
And some people don't want to pay for that. They figure their insurance or whoever will tell them where to go. But usually these are big corporations. They're not even in the city that you're in, and they don't know. They don't get the feedback.
As you were talking about that, I've had so many conversations with some of the excellent elder law attorneys who are part of the Helping Seniors Network. And there is a undercurrent that comes up in almost every conversation because as a law firm, they end up making a lot of money in terms of legal fees fixing the mistakes that people did when they tried it on their own. Maybe they saw an ad on TV says, oh, you can just do all your paperwork online. It's simple. We'll help you do it. Or maybe in the old days, they would talk about people running down to the office supply store, buying a form and filling in some blanks and thinking they had done that. And the problem with those documents is at the moment it needed to work, It didn't work. And now, not because the attorney was trying to do anything wrong, there was a lot of time and extra work involved in it. And I'm hearing you say the same thing about care management. You could make some big mistakes if you don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing. And care management can be short term to get you through a crisis, or it can be long term. And I've had clients for several years, especially if they decided they wanted to go to their home and have home care.
Mm-hmm.
And so that takes, usually they do better in their home environment. Everybody would. That makes sense. And if they have to go to a facility, we know which facilities are good,
mm-hmm.
And which ones have caring staff. And we do visit them before we even go there. And if they're helpful, caring, and responsive to us, that's a good sign.
One of the things I was thinking about, my dad had an expression. He said, "I'm not rich enough that I can pay too little." And I was thinking about that in the combination of talking about some of these things with the stories that the attorneys can tell about the person who was basically, we would often say, penny wise and pound foolish, because they would try to do something on their own thinking like, well, I saved this money. But in the end, it turned around to cost them many, many times more than it did. And so sometimes when people are looking to make decisions, they might be overlooking the fact that a care manager might actually save them money in the long run, even though you're having to put a little bit of money out up front to get the help and the expertise that you need.
Correct. And you don't have to have one ongoing for the life of the individual. There's no reason for that. But when you need the help, you're able to contact that person
mm-hmm.
and get them involved again. Or if everything is hunky-dory, you don't need to contact anybody.
I was thinking another analogy is probably like when we have some kind of a problem with our car. Maybe if it's simple, we think we can dismantle it in our driveway and figure out what's going on. But, here again, you get it to the right person that knows how to diagnose the problem and then what the correct fix is, so you're not trying one part after another. And I keep coming back to the wisdom of getting a care manager involved, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to save time, money, and let alone the stress, right? Because when these things happen, this is a lot more inconvenient than what happens to your car. This is somebody's life that we're talking about.
And I think a care manager, like you say, is familiar with the resources that are available. They know how to look up the surveys to see how they're doing, whether they're a 1 or a 5-star. That's for nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
And also you could look up assisted livings. They have surveys. I do that. I won't put somebody in unless I look up the survey. And then you make a couple unannounced visits to see what's happening when you open the door, walk in, and how they're treating the residents, how they look, and how you can see whether they're happy or unhappy. It's easy.
Yeah. And I want to bring up another point. I have had this conversation with elder law attorney. There's one in particular I think of. I smile because I've heard her say this many times. She said, "Kerry, a lot of times when people come and sit in my office, they're going through something that's very, very serious. But probably this is the first time in their life that they're dealing with something this serious." She says, we're working on 20 or 30 of these every week and have been for 20 years. And so the experience matters because it helps somebody navigate the challenge they're facing.
Challenges, yeah, because a lot of times they're the same challenge again. And I think that's a good advice, to find somebody that's in the field.
So how does somebody find, if the conversation is leading them to think toward like, okay, I need to explore a care manager, what's the right time to start making a call and exploring all this in somebody's situation?
I would say if somebody goes to the hospital, you might want to do it before the discharge, because the hospital has, they only get paid for X number of days, and they have to get them out.
Yeah.
Or also, you might want to, if somebody wants to go on Medicaid, and in Florida, the Medicaid wait list is very, very, very long. It's in the thousands, probably 5,000 or 6,000 if you do it out in the community. But if you go, I tell people if you want to get them on Medicaid, if they are sick, take them to the 911 to the emergency unit. Get them in a Medicare bed, not a Medicare examination bed where they like to do a lot of tests. Get their 72 hours of stay. Then they could be discharged to a facility that skilled nursing that would start the application for the Medicaid. And that's basically how you do it. Yeah. Providing that you have to check it out, the facility will take you, and they haven't filled up all their Medicaid beds.
Yeah. So there's a lot of dimensions as we're talking about this, as you go through this. I feel like there's so many things. And Nancy Deerdorf, who's our director of development, she has this saying that she likes, and her background professionally is as a registered nurse. And she said, Kerry, how do you know what you don't know? And that's really a problem, because when you're starting to face all these unknowns and doctors are saying, well, we might want to do this or we might want to do that, that's an area we're typically totally non-prepared to understand even what the ramifications of decisions are. That's an area you help.
Yeah, you would talk to, because we do have myself, I have a good medical background because I was in biomedical research for 20 years. So it's important to know what the basic illnesses are and what the outcomes could be. And so you can help somebody with making plans for what they want to do. Yeah. But I think for most people, a lot of people, they haven't prepared financially. So when something happens that's going to result in them going to a nursing home, that's a good plan. But get into a Medicare bed. Don't put them into a bed where they're going to analyze you till the cows come home. And get into a Medicare certified and Medicaid certified nursing home.
So a question I did want to ask you is, what's the right time to begin the journey on this? Do you ever get people who call you, like maybe they're moving into retirement and they say, I just want to get some ideas set up early, so if I run into something down the road? I've
had very few of that. I've tried to focus on that because I think people need to think about it in terms of payment. Yeah. And like I said today, and make sure they have the legal documents in place. But people do not like to think about it. Unfortunately, it's a crisis for the most part. A lot of it's crisis management.
I was thinking about something. Another one of our elder law attorney friends has said this. He said he was reading, I think he said it was U.S. News and World Report kind of thing, where they were talking to new retirees about what were the 20 things that they were most concerned about. And really up at the top 5 was things like, which golf course am I going to play on? And, which cruise do I want to take and things like that. And he said sometime like maybe 19 or 20 was, thinking about long-term care situations. And what he pointed out was, though, he said the percentage of people that will be facing that situation is extremely high because we're living longer and it just becomes likely. How do you, when you have an opportunity to talk to somebody that may be new to retirement or just thinking about retirement or recently retired, how do you share with them, like, here might be some ideas to get ahead of the curve on?
Well, if I could get them to come to me, I would. That's the first big step. Yeah. Secondly, I would discuss with them, what is essential for your long-term care objectives. Number 1 is finances. Number 2 is legal. And number 3 is what do you want to do? Maybe you want to be at an aging I interviewed some people from Palm Bay the other day that want to go up to North Carolina, and they want to live in a community up there where they can have companionship activities. And I guess I'm looking at it to make sure there's assisted living places close, or maybe the maybe the community has assisted living,
right?
And if there's the medical facilities that they might need. He was a veteran, and basically he needed to be close to a VA hospital.
Right. Well, all these things make sense. And these are things that we as individuals, we may be experts in our own particular field, but these are not things that we would necessarily know. So it would make sense to sit down with somebody who knows the right questions to ask.
Right, right. And to think about, because nobody wants to think about getting old, getting incapacitated. It's just not a fun thing to think about.
Yeah. But preparation really is a key to it, so that at least you're not, and it's not only for you, right? It's for your family members.
Family members, yes. So that things can be done, so that, whoever you want to leave your assets to and what you want to do. And I believe, I guess my opinion is I would like to be taken care of first, and then I'll leave the rest to my family.
Yeah.
Because I've worked hard for where I am, and I just care to go out on the same level.
Well, it makes perfect sense. So if somebody is interested, they've been hearing about a care manager and they just have questions, what would you encourage them to do next?
I would encourage them to call, either get on, if they don't know who to call, get on the website for the Aging Life Care Professionals and put down Melbourne, and they'll bring up the Aging Life Care Professionals that are here, that are certified. Right now, there's 3 of us.
Oh, wow.
I was the only one for many years. And then I would get a call to each of all 3 of them to see who you felt more comfortable with, and give them a call. Some people like me will give you a free 15 or 30-minute plus conversation and show you what the contract is and what's expected, and go on, and you can make your decision.
I was thinking about that when you talk about the certification, because that same conversation comes up again, interestingly, how the parallels are in the elder law business, because I have talked with our elder law attorneys who have talked about that maybe it was a family attorney who did criminal law or something like that, who tried to write up paperwork for them, and then when it needed to work, it didn't. And all of a sudden, the elder law attorney has to try to find the best path forward with defective documents. And so in the county, there are a lot of attorneys, and there are many who hang out a shingle and say, I'm an elder law attorney. But in our county, we literally only have 2 board-certified elder law attorneys. And when you talk about the number of people who must run around with a business card that says case manager, care manager, or things like that, to understand that you said there's only 3 in the county that
are certified, and yes, and you have to. It took me a while because I'm not a nurse. I graduated as a pre-med, and I was a med tech, so I worked in the laboratories for many years and biomedical research. So that was a lot of work, and I had to get recommendations from lawyers.
Wow.
And financial people. And then I had to, fill out the form and get the CEUs, stuff that are required every year. In fact, I'm going to Boston in April to the national conference, so I get my CEUs.
I think that's also the mark of a professional who takes the time to become one of the very rarefied few who take it to that level, because it shows your commitment to being the best that you can in service to others. But also that's the expertise that you need when it comes out of these, because you are dealing from time to time with life and death kind of decisions, and you need somebody who knows about this. If somebody wants to talk to you specifically and say, I'd like to get more information, and I heard you guys talking about this, I'd like to learn more about the different things that Total Long-Term Care Consultant Services can do, how do they reach you?
They can either reach me by my website, which is tlcconsultantservices.com.
Okay.
They can reach me that way. They can call me at 321-752-0995. Leave a message, and I do get back right away.
That's good. We were talking about the fact that it's helping seniors has been really blessed to have a conglomeration of people who really excel at senior care. And you taught me something I didn't know about, to look for that certification label, because I can tell you how many different times I've run into people who do either care management, but your experience goes beyond that. You've been in the guardianship world, so you kind of see all aspects of it. You've been administrator for skilled nursing facilities, so you bring this whole plethora of expertise and experience. And I don't know about you, but if I'm getting on an airplane and we're going to cross the ocean, I don't want this to be somebody's first flight. I want somebody
that knows what they're doing,
who knows where we're going and how to get us there safely. And that's what it seems like the value of what you bring as a care manager.
That's what I try to do, and my company does. And we try to do the best we can. We try to keep people where they are well. If they get sick, we deal with it right away.
Yep.
I have an RN that works for me. And we're all sort of trained in the medical, so that if something's wrong, we get it taken care of right away. So
important. Cathy Rowlands with Total Long-Term Care Consultants. Thank you for joining us. I really hope that you as a viewer have had a chance to learn about the impact and the value that getting good professional care management help can make for your own personal situation. Encourage you to learn more and keep learning as we continue this. That's the time we have for today's Helping Seniors television program. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next edition of Helping Seniors TV.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniors.brevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.